Hey, welcome back to Everyday Economics, the podcast which you'll learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Chris Krug, CEO of the 501c3 nonprofit, nonpartisan Franklin News Foundation. Everyday Economics is a production of America's Talking Network, and you can subscribe to all of our podcasts at americastalking.com. To support Everyday Economics, please make a tax-deductible charitable contribution by clicking the link in the show description. We're recording this episode on Friday, October 25th, and joining me, as always, my friend and colleague, Dr. Orphe Divounguy. Dr. O, you're still hung up at the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport. And you look like a business traveler today, just FYI. I look like I'm ready to go chop wood or something. And you look like a young professional.
I think you just need more lighting in your office.
Well, it's early here in the Midwest. The sun isn't exactly cooperating just yet because it's not up. So Fed's coming up with some information that comes immediately after the election, right? The election is November 5th. We're going to hear from Jerome Powell on the 6th and 7th. We had the first decrease in the Fed funding rate in September, which seems like it's a long time ago at this point. It wasn't that long ago, but it seems like it's a long time ago. And that was the first cut in 18 months. So, coming into this year, like there were some people that were, some analysts and the so-called experts are like, oh, we're going to get 6 or 7 cuts this year. The Federal Reserve itself, I believe at the beginning of the year, said to probably plan on 3. We didn't get our first one until September. Economic data is pouring in like crazy right now. Like we're just having in this coming week, we're going to get a ton of information that's going to come our way. What are your early thoughts on what's going to happen with the Fed funding rate?
Look, the economy is solid, and so you can forget about that 50 basis point, another 50 basis point at the next meeting. You could probably forget 50 basis points before the end of the year. We might just get 25.
Okay,
and that's I think that's what markets are pricing in right now. What when you look at pricing, what you notice is that traders had priced in way too much, and that actually the kind of the path of the expected path of the Fed funds rate has actually gotten shallower and kind of come back to where the Fed dot plot was at in September, right? So we just went too far again. Markets always go too far, and now we're back to I think what the Fed's dot plot was pointing to, which is a gradual decline to maybe 3% by 2020, end of 2025.
The markets have been acting, sort of, or perhaps, anticipating some things happen. We talked about it last week. There were a number of stories that were out where, the market is behaving as if Donald Trump is going to win the White House. What do you think is on Jerome Powell's mind as he's making sense of the current state of affairs here in the United States?
Well, I don't think he cares. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Maybe he does care. No,
not necessarily about the election.
I don't think.
I don't mean to. I'm not trying to run you off a cliff here. What's he looking at? And I mean, I wanted to set that. Just let me hang on. Time out. Let me just be clear. I'm talking about 2 separate things here. Certainly, the market seems to be anticipating this election going in a certain direction. Jerome Powell, you and I have talked about this before, doesn't have an interest in that, at least not one that he's expressing professionally, right? But what do you think he's looking at? Because there's a lot of information that's out there, and it does look like that the rate cut that was made has been effective, and it's done the things that they had hoped the Fed, that would occur.
I mean, he made it very clear. He's looking at the labor. The expectation is that inflation's moving towards the 2% target. Core PC had been running below 2% up before last month, right? On a 3-month annualized basis, and so it's all about the labor market. The labor market surprised in September. We're going to see what happens next week, and then so that I think that's what growth is on people's minds, including the Fed chair.
So what do you anticipate for the balance of the year? I mean, it's a little bit of a crystal ball question for you, but as we said, you had some analysts that were thinking that we'd get 6 cuts. We didn't get one till September, and then we got, I think, in the minds of some, if not many, a 50 basis point cut. What do you think's left? I mean, between now and New Year's Day.
Yeah, I think they'll get 25. I think we'll get 25 at the next meeting. We might get 25 again at the meeting after that. Remember, okay, there are forces. Even though growth is very strong, there are forces that are kind of acting as headwinds, right? See, if the election happens to be one of them. Financial conditions are tightening a little bit again with the 10-year yield going up, and you potentially get somewhat of a stock market sell-off, ahead of the election. And so, you have tighter financial conditions, maybe consumers slowing down a little bit, due to all this uncertainty. And so those are some headwinds. And so I think the Fed's going to stick to the plan and lower the Fed funds rate a couple of times this year. 25, the next 2 meetings. But it's kind of what was in the dot plot, right? So nothing's really changed.
Yeah. No.
Yes, growth is pretty strong, but there are headwinds, and so I think we're in good shape. The only thing is, markets had overreacted to the messaging from the last meeting. And now they're correcting back to what the Fed was basically pointing to.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your thoughts as always. For Dr. Orphe Divounguy, this has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics and dozens of other quality podcasts at americastalking.com.